Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you to each of the three nominees being here today. Mr. Bentzel, since the horrific October 7th massacre in Israel, almost 1 year ago, the Houthi terrorists in Yemen have been launching attacks on commercial vessels in the Red Sea. So far, the Houthis have targeted over 70 vessels, including U.S. flagships, which has resulted in sinkings, shipping delays, and increased cost as many vessels are diverted around Africa. Mr. Bentzel, you noted the Houthis are targeting international trade to support Hamas against Israel. During a recent FMC hearing, you said that you were evaluating whether the Houthis, quote, politically generated attacks on international shipping are violations of U.S. and international law. You explained that, quote, Yemen could be the target nation for failure to adequately protect the right of innocent passage through its territorial waters. Mr. Bentzel, you clearly believe supporting the Houthi rocket attacks is a violation of international law, and I agree with you. What countries are supporting the Houthis?
I'm not the best person to get into that issue, but I believe there are some issues related to Chinese support of the Houthis. There's issues in Iran as well that affect shipping. So the issue has been a hot spot, a trouble area. Most nations adhere to the law of the sea, which requires the protection of innocent passage through their waters. And so looking at that, I feel reasonably comfortable in saying they're in violation, at least in Yemen, which is questionable in terms of their territorial prerogatives and sovereignty, of violating the articles of in the law of the sea that require them to protect innocent passage.
Well, you're certainly right that both China and Iran have active involvement in the Houthis' attacks. And although the Houthis operate out of Yemen, Iran's providing them with money, with training, with equipment, and with strategic information. According to the Defense Department, without Iran's assistance, quote, the Houthis would struggle to effectively track and strike vessels navigating shipping lines through the Red Sea and the Gulf of Aden. What is more, China is knowingly facilitating these attacks by purchasing 90% of Iran's oil. Do you believe Iran and China may be violating international law themselves by supporting the Houthis?
I wouldn't feel qualified to get into that area. I do believe there's potential violations of international maritime law on the protection of access into and out of areas that are required for transit. I couldn't evaluate those other areas that might be potential violations.
Have you approached the State Department about your concerns?
I have talked to the State Departments about shipping issues related to the attacks on merchant shipping, yes.
And has the State Department taken any action in response to your concerns?
Not yet.
In your judgment, why is it important to address the Houthi attacks on shipping and Iran's support for those attacks?
I mean, we go back historically. I think the last time that you'd seen a navigational strait under attack, military attack, was in 1800s when the Barbary pirates were attacking access into the Mediterranean. So there's always been an importance on a protection of navigational straits. They're sort of a maritime superhighway. So I believe that there should be more focus on restrictions. Right now, 80% of the cargo that went through the Red Sea and the Suez Canal is not going there.
Thank you. Dr. Chen, thank you for being here. Thank you for your service. Please tell the committee, in your judgment, what in your background qualifies you to serve on the board of an entity that is at the intersection of both the public and private sectors.
Thank you, Ranking Member Cruz, for the question. I believe that I bring both experience in public policy as well as in business and, more importantly, in governance and oversight. The governance and oversight piece, Senator Cruz, I believe is particularly important at this stage of Amtrak's development and growth. I think it's important to have board members who understand the fiduciary responsibility that the board has to the American people, to the American taxpayer, to you who provide funding to Amtrak. I think I've got deep experience, particularly in the quasi-public setting, which makes Amtrak unique. And I also think that given my experience in public policy, understanding some of the challenges and issues that lie ahead with respect to implementation of the infrastructure bill, continued issues around how to improve customer service, looking at what the future of Amtrak will be in states throughout this country, I think that combination of policy and business background would be unique to the board. I'd also be remiss if I didn't mention the fact that I'm from California, and I think representation on the national network is crucially important.
Well, having married a native Californian, I'll agree with that proposition as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Senator Wicker.